And welcome back to the show. Well, we know that we love to travel the world finding new music for this show, and tonight we are going to introduce you to a band hailing from Italy. The band is called Inner Shrine, and they've got a brand new album coming out called Aita, and we thought today we would actually get a member of the band on the phone to chat a little bit about it. So welcome to the program, Leonardo.
Thanks a lot, Dave, really, for having me with you in your podcast.
So, Leonardo, I want to start off by saying you have made some amazing music over the years, but this album is...
Thanks a lot.
This album goes to a whole new level. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about this album and how it's come into being.
Well, the thing is that, as you know, we are a really old band, you know. Now I think it's 30 years that we are playing and we are in the metal music. So I think the fact that we are a band that loves to change things. In every album we try to change our music styles, and I think this is a good thing, but also a flaw, you know, because people love to hear always the same things. So this album, we try to do something different. We started back in 1995 as one of the first band that mixed classical music and death metal. And then we slowly evolved from that. And I don't know really what we are now.
Like you said, you were a groundbreaking band. How difficult was it back in 1995 to be playing a style of music that most of the world hadn't heard? Was that a difficult time for you, or did you find it to be enjoyable because you were so different to everything else that was out there?
Well, when we started back, you know, we had a background into death metal, and also it was in 1995. It was the first years that black metal was coming out, and people were listening to that kind of music. So, you know, we were kids. We were 18, 19 years old. So everything was great. Everything was new. And every band was starting doing their own things. So there were fewer clone bands back in the days. Every band was doing something different than the others. And I think it was really, really great. And we were really, really lucky because we find immediately a musical contract with a label. So we started great, you know. Everything was fine. We had a contract, and we made something new, and it was really enjoyable.
So, bringing it forward now to the album that we've got here in front of us right now, you said that as a band, you always like to do things a little bit different when you're heading into an album. What kind of things did you talk about wanting to do differently with this album?
Well, at first we wanted to... The theme of the album is about Etruscan religion. So it speaks about old civilization of Italy, and especially the old civilization of Tuscany, where we live. And so it was, I don't think it's, you know, a mainstream lyrical theme. And for the other parts, we like to do something completely different in music structure. We try to do something that is not like other things that we have heard in this period. But, you know, I think it's the good part of our music, and also the bad part of our music, that we want the listener to understand by their own what's our themes, what our structure, what we want to say. We are not I can say we are not a really simple band, you know.
Yep. Let's start with the theme. Like you said, this has a very historical theme to it. Was that something that you already knew a lot about, or was that something that you had to go away and research? And what sparked your interest in that side of history as well?
Well, we live in Florence, so everything in our city, when you're born in Florence, everything is historical.
Yep.
So I think it's really really normal for people in Florence to see every day in tracks of the past of our culture, and so it's something that comes natural. If you want to discover things of your past and of your ancestors.
So what was that journey like for you then? Did you instantly think of things that you wanted to write about from that history in music, or did you go away and do a little bit more research before you decided what you wanted to write about?
Well, you had always to do some research about it because we are not we don't study history, at university. We
Yep.
did completely different things. Me and Luca, and I am a psychologist, and Luca works in graduated in social and politics. But the fact is that every album of Inner Shrine is something that speak about the history, and that it could be history of esotericism or history of our city. We had an album back in years ago when we speak about the family of the Medici.
Yep.
Medici family is a famous family in Florence because they was one of the richest, the most important family of the history of the city. So we like to make a spot on specific themes in the history of our city.
So, and actually being there as well, how does that influence the album? Because of course, if you're, say, a band in Australia and you're writing about European history, you're not there to experience it. So you're relying on
Yes.
textbooks and the internet. What is it actually like for you being there and being able to experience the things that you're writing about?
Well, the fact is that I don't know if it's simple to express this, but when you live in a city like Florence, you are overwhelmed daily by history.
Yep.
So you walk, if you go to a shop, to take groceries, you passed a lot of great monuments and a lot of great buildings, historical buildings, and you live the history every day of your life. So I think it's something that it's really, a daily experience for people who lives here, and it's normal, for us to want to understand what is the past of your city, of your culture, and also of yourself.
Now, moving on to the music of this album as well, you said that you wanted to do things a little bit differently there with the music. How did you approach that in the composing stage, and then how did you also deliver that when you got to the studio?
Well, it's when you were in the old times, you got your label take 1 month in the studios. You go there and you record there. But now things are really changed a lot, really, and so everything is being recorded by Land of Glory. This is the studio of Luca. So everything is a lot more simple because you can record it not every day for 1 month, but you can record these things in 1 year. So for us, it's been a lot more easy to do, and we can have every track got the time that we have to do to make a perfect things.
Yep.
Sometimes back in the days, everything was more rushed on. For example, I don't know. It was not only for ourselves, but also for other bands.
Definitely.
I think on the first album of Cradle of Filth, that was things that were made. I think that was made in '94. So it was the same period of us. You can listen. That there is some parts with things that were not made so perfectly, that drums were not recorded so perfectly, or sometimes it was being rushed. But now we can take all the time of our life, to do the proper recording and the proper playing. I don't know if it's better or worse, really, because also the rushed part had fun when you made it.
Yeah.
And this time, the thing that we wanted to do with this album was more a guitar-oriented album, when in the past we had more a keyboard-oriented album, especially in the first two albums that we made, were Nocturnal Rhymes and Fallen Beauty.
You also worked with a very, very special guest this time around, Dunkler Stern. Tell us a little bit about why you made that decision and what they were like to work with.
Well, we had always wanted to have great guests in our albums. At first, the first two albums, we were a full-grown band, so we didn't had guests. We had a band, as it was normal for, I think, 90% of metal bands. But then the times passed, and it was always more difficult to find good replacement. There was a lot of people that didn't want to dedicate all their life to music, and so it's not very simple to bring a band together and to play live shows. It became always difficult. So we decided, me and Luca, to stay only duo, remaining me and him, and then to have a special guest in our albums, and really it works a lot better.
Definitely. Now, with the album out, what's your next step? What are you hoping to do for the rest of this year off the back of this album now?
This is a really good question, but I really don't know how to answer this, because I really don't know what we do musically at the end of every album.
Yep.
We are so totally free, because we are not a band that has, to make a touring career. So we don't have to go on tour to keep the band going with the money, because so we are a completely only studio album band, and we can take all the time that we need to do our next album.
Yep. Definitely. So I guess to finish off now, we are going to play a track from the album on our show in just a moment. So what would you like to say to everybody out there who's about to sit down and listen to the album? Because I'm sure a lot of people out there will want to go and listen to the album after they hear the track we play tonight. So what would you like to say to people who are about to sit down and listen to the album for the first time?
Well, just to sit down and relax and bring it on by the music.